everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of September mainly, but I'm also going to be picking up a couple of the longer term themes through the month. And I'm also going to be talking to you about the full moon that we have at 21:05 of Pisces coming up on the 13th or the 14th, depending on where in the world you live. Now, one of the big things that's happening this month, the important thing, is Saturn is within 2 degrees of the South Node in mid-Capricorn. And in fact, it becomes exact with the South Node on the 28th of the month, and we won't have that again for many, many years going forwards. So in September, we may well see the results, the consequences of our actions, particularly around Saturn associations, around responsibility. How have you handled responsibility in your life? Have you done that diligently and well, or have you shirked responsibility? Saturn is also about hard work. Have you worked hard and played by the rules and been very patient and again diligent? Then you're likely to get your reward. Or have you kind of bunked off and avoided a lot of hard work? And again, not my judgment, it's very much how Saturn operates, that you get what you've earned over the long term. Conjunct the South Node, how we've used our power. Have we lauded it over other people? Or have we even given our power away to others? Have we not been at all empowered? So these are the areas where we're going to receive, probably through September and into October, the results, the consequences of those actions. So it's very interesting. But if you have planets between 14 degrees, 20 degrees of the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, this can be a particularly productive period for you. I mean, even if you haven't, if you've just done those things well, responsibility, handle power, etc., then it can be very positive for you. But particularly if you have planets or angles between 14 and 20 degrees of the earth signs, this can really bring its rewards. It could be material success, it could be recognition of some kind, because again Saturn is trekking through those degrees and Pluto is already is at 20 of Capricorn. So can be super positive. In addition, on the 18th of the month, I'm dipping in slightly to the second half, but Saturn moves direct. Mars is moving very quickly through Virgo all this month. It moves from 9 of Virgo at the beginning all the way through to 28 of Virgo by the end of the month. So it's moving quickly. By the way, see where Virgo as a sign falls in your chart, because Mars will activate and energize that area for you. Jupiter went direct in mid-Sagittarius on the 11th of August. It's just now starting to gather pace, but will particularly gather pace through October and November as it rushes eventually in December into Capricorn, moves from Sagittarius to Capricorn. And Saturn, as I say, second half of the month is moving direct, and it will also start to gather pace and move very quickly, October, November into December. So there's a shift of energy. So see where Virgo is in your chart, activated and energized. See where Sagittarius is in your chart. That's where Jupiter is moving. And actually quite close to that, Saturn is in Capricorn. So the areas that might have been moving slowly for you over the last few months, and it will be different for all of you because you'll have those signs in different areas of your chart, can really start to progress. You may have the feeling of things moving forward, or things even starting to move quite quickly for you, particularly October, November. It could be legal issues. Jupiter in Sagittarius, we could see these coming to fruition where previously they've been moving very, very slowly. So that is really going to be quite a shift for us. The personal planets, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, all start the month, in fact the first half of the month, in Virgo, and then mid-month, one by one, they shift into Libra, but I'll talk about that in the next video. And with Virgo, as I mentioned in the last video, with the Virgo new supermoon, we have this very helpful convergent mental process. The mind narrows down onto specifics, and it's extremely good on detail. It's quite perfectionist. Don't let that Mars in Virgo drive you too hard with a sort of low threshold for frustration, because it's very, very helpful to get all the detail working right in whatever project you're working on, get it working like clockwork, and get it working very efficiently for you. Virgo is also very linked to our daily mental habits, our daily mental pattern. And I always think with Virgo emphasis, it's a great opportunity to kind of feng shui our energy, clean up our energy. So you've really got to catch unhelpful habitual thinking. Am I not young enough, smart enough, rich enough, etc., pretty enough, whatever? Because many of us, most of us, have run on these automatic repetitive patterns, and they kind of drill into our system, and they're very unhelpful because they lower our frequency. So catch yourself, and really try. And people have been asking me, how do you change your frequency? Because I've been talking about this a lot. Well, the process is actually very simple. If you catch yourself running some grungy, not good enough, smart enough, never do this, always a loser, etc., just flick your thinking. I mean, stick post-it notes around the house. That's very helpful to make you check in with your thinking and your frequency, but also just have a very quick, instant flick to anything that will make you feel more joyful, happier, freer, more grateful, more appreciative. Can you look at a blue sky? Can you look at a tree? Can you listen to a bird? Can you look at a photograph of a child? Think of someone you love. Think of a pet or an animal that you love. Anything that will lift your frequency. And this is all about habit. Virgo is all about habit. So the more we can catch ourselves and get into that habit of raising our frequency, the more that becomes our default pattern rather than the grungy, negative self-talk. So it's something I feel, very, very passionately about, and I think we all have to work at it to some degree. So then we have moving into the full moon. That happens on the 13th of the month. It happens at 9:32 p.m. Pacific, the 13th, and then on the 14th, the next day, it happens at 5:32 a.m. And this is at 21:05 of Pisces, and this is a really beautiful full moon. With full moons, it's the peak of the moon cycle, so emotions tend to come to a head. Always with a full moon, emotions tend to come to a head. But particularly when the full moon is in a water sign, Pisces, and particularly when it's one of the most sensitive, possibly even the most sensitive of the water signs. So we are going to have an incredible sense of feeling, could be compassion, could be a great psychic sensitivity, and also just sensitivity in general. See where this is falling in your chart for 21 degrees of Pisces, and see, always at a full moon, it's a sense of completion or closure or culmination with what's happening in that area of life. But it can also, there's quite a clear split here. There's a very clear opposition at this full moon. I mean, the sun and moon are always opposite each other at a full moon. But in this instance, the moon at 21 of Pisces is quite tightly conjunct Neptune, ruler of Pisces, at 17. And they are opposing the sun and Mars in Virgo, 21 for the sun and 17 for Mars. So it's a very emphasized polarity. Now, this is a highly Piscean Neptunian full moon because it's emphasized by the moon being conjunct Neptune. It's really ethereal, it's beautiful, it's incredibly creative as well. That's partly also because, similar to the Virgo new supermoon that we have a very strong emphasis of planets in mutable signs and also in earth signs. So 7 planets in mutable signs and 7 planets in earth signs. Now, mutability it helps you to be adaptable, it helps you to be flexible, but it also helps you to see things from other people's points of view. So it can really help that kind of oblique creativity. Earth can help this sense of manifestation and practicality that we're going to come on to. But with all that potential mutability and Earth energy, the Earth perhaps has a potential to flex, let's say, at this time. And Uranus technically at this full moon is also unaspected by any major aspects at 6 of Taurus. And when a planet doesn't have any major aspects, it can operate in a very pure way. Now that can be wonderful because Uranus is the planet of awakening, so together with this beautiful, ethereal, inspiring full moon in Pisces, that can help to shift our consciousness, but it's also quite eruptive energy. So we should just be aware that we could see some Earth events coming off the back of the closest supermoon of the year at the end of August and going into another supermoon at the end of September. It's quite a kind of flexy time for the Earth. But let's get back to this opposition between Moon Neptune in Pisces, Sun Mars in Virgo. How do we work that to our best advantage? Well, that Moon conjunct Neptune in Pisces, as I say, is exquisitely ethereal, beautiful, and this is really about getting divine inspiration, a lot of higher guidance to help our creativity and help our spiritual practice. But it's very connected to an altered state. And whether you get into that altered state by being in nature, listening to sacred music, candle gazing, meditating, watching your breath, whatever it is, it's a shift into an altered state, a higher state of being. And that's what this very Piscean Moon Neptune full moon can give us. Then we can put it into practice with that Sun Mars in Virgo. We can nail it. We can make something very practical. We can make something very accessible in order to help other people. Remember, the urge of Virgo is always, how can I help you? How can I make your life better for you? It's very humble in a way. But it also helps that sense of manifestation because it's in an earth sign. And in addition to that, Saturn is trine to the Sun and Mars in Virgo. Now, when you have trines from Saturn, positive aspects from Saturn, also in an earth sign in Capricorn, this can be excellent for manifesting for the long term. Whatever you're doing, whatever project you're working on, just have a think about this inspiration. Uranus, because it's unaspected, can give us these kind of downloads of inspiration, and then we can put it into practice for the long term. And really, for the next couple of months, that is going to be a very strong potential for us that we're building for the long term. So very, very positive in that respect as well. And it's interesting, this split between Moon Neptune in Pisces, Mars Virgo in Mars Sun in Virgo, because it's almost like working energetically or working practically. And how do we push our lives forward? How do we push our projects forward? How can we improve life in the biggest, best way? Well, it is always most powerful and most efficient to work energetically. And what do I mean about that? Well, I've set all this out in my last book, How to Co-Create Using the Secret Language of the Universe. I've gone into this in quite a lot of detail, but it's essentially about setting a clear intention of what you want to manifest, make that in the present tense, as if it's already happening, and then visualize whatever it is that you want to achieve, whether it's a work project, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a new home or a new environment, whatever it is, and step into that new energetic hologram. Don't just make it till you fake it, because that's a kind of slight split between acting something out that isn't really you and the inner you. Be that. actually become the energy of whatever you're wanting to create. So whether it's being a gifted healer, whether it's being a successful entrepreneur, whether it's being a successful writer, whatever it is, visualize it and then be that person now. Because the intention narrows the focus of the thinking, and that helps the energy of the divine, if you like, divine intelligence come into us. And then we can take practical steps for the Virgo energy to actually make it practical in the world. But if we just work on the practical side, trying to kind of push things with business plans and a lot of effort, it takes much, much longer to achieve what we want to. And I would actually say this is one of the big changes we're having as we move through this very, very important historical period, that we're leaving the old 3D ways behind of having to force or push or whatever, but we're using our great power, actually, where we're becoming manifest in our lives, almost in quantum jumps. Because when we work energetically, we can actually achieve those quantum jumps much more quickly, much more easily than if we just kept pushing on a kind of 3D basis. There's great idealism at this full moon, and that is suggested by Moon conjunct Neptune, highly idealistic. Mercury is conjunct Venus, together at 29 degrees of Virgo, that critical degree. And also we have this long-running, ongoing Jupiter square Neptune, which becomes exact on the 21st and then starts to separate. But I've talked about that a lot as a kind of spiritual inspiration, spiritual idealism, having bigger horizons, again, wanting to make the world a more perfect place. So a lot of aspects of idealism here. And because we have 4 planets in Virgo, we have the Sun, Mars, and we also have, right at the critical degree at the end of Virgo, Mercury and Venus. And this is a sense of, together with the compassion of Pisces at this full moon and the idealism, what can I do to help the world suffering? What can I do practically day to day to help that? And I think that's going to be really a very strong urge as we experience this full moon. And particularly if you have anything around 14 to 17 degrees of the mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, we might even feel a kind of yearning, a real yearning and a lot of compassion to do that. So we'll see what manifests. I mean, as always, with Pisces Neptunian energy, in its less positive sense, that can manifest as floods or oil spills linked to Neptune. It can be secrets also. I mean, the full moon will tend to shine a light on what has been hidden. But because there's such a strong Neptune, Moon conjunct Neptune at this full moon, it could be secrets being revealed and perhaps even legal action. Jupiter starting to move direct through Sagittarius, that starts to take place. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly in the first 4 days or so of September, we have the Sun directly conjunct Mars in early degrees of Virgo, 8 to 12 of Virgo, and that's a very good time for us to take decisive action. As we move towards 10th of September, we have the Sun coming to oppose Neptune, and we start to move into this, swimmy, dreamy, ethereal, idealistic, spiritual, healing, unconditional love, psychic sensitivity of the full moon in Pisces. So it can be really, really beautiful. And with all the Earth and the Saturn trine to Sun, Mars, this can be a very, very productive period for us. So we will see what manifests in the world. And remember that we have a choice. We always have a choice with these astrological energies. They are not fated. We have to match them in our co-creation by high frequency in order to optimize our lives and also maximize our contribution to the collective consciousness as well. So it's not just we're being buffeted by planetary energies and that's our fate and we're a victim in that. Absolutely not. astrology is a fabulous modality for alerting us to the cosmic patterns and then matching those opportunities coming up for us with high frequency to make them manifest in the best possible way in the world. So hope that makes sense. If you don't know where these points fall in your chart that I've talked about, you can download a free birth chart from my website, and then please check out this link above. That will take you to my store. You can buy a 2-part video series that if you have a what does this mean for me question, that 2-part video series will answer that, not just for this update, but for anyone I ever do in the future. You can watch them for a lifetime. If you'd like more information about my books or my monthly newsletter, which is very detailed and goes to a lot of subjects that I just don't have the time to go into in the video, often go into quite a lot of research and history on those, you can again subscribe on any page on my website. And tutorial videos, if you go to my product page, I've got a lot of teaching videos now. I'm going to have even more coming up soon because I've recently been filming some more teaching videos. I'm going to do a separate video to talk about what they're about, and they will be out in the world, I hope, by about mid-September. I might even try and catch this full moon in Pisces, which is so beautiful. So I hope that's helped you, and really wish you a beautiful full moon in Pisces. Really take advantage of this inspiring, creative full moon, and thank you so much for listening. Bye for now.